Happy Saturday to you. I hope you are having an amazing Saturday and an amazing weekend so far. Uh, and welcome to the show. My name is Don Terrell. I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where, hey, I like to say stories come in all shades, and I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that, I'm just crazy about. Hey, you know the drill. Make sure you jump into the comments, say hello, where you're tuning in from, so I can give you the shout out that, you so richly deserve. Uh, Again, like I said, so excited for this episode. I know you are as well, and definitely want to looking forward to this for sure. Make sure that you hop on over to the Facebook group community, facebook.com/group/, the color of motion. Join the family. We're having a lot of fun over there. The family is growing. Great conversations, sharing industry news, and definitely don't want you to miss out on anything. So again, make sure you hop on over to facebook.com/groups, again, / the color of motion. Join in on the fun as well. Want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor of this show, DG Graphics. Always want to give a shout out to them. They're always a big sponsor of the show. Make us look good. If you are a business or a brand that is looking to level up your brand design, motion graphics, animations, they do all of ours, all the graphics, and just help us look good. So if you're one of those businesses that wants to step up, definitely make sure that you check out their website and get connected with them. So big thanks to DG Graphics for continuing to sponsor the show. Also, the store is open. Make sure that you hop on over to the store, pick you up some swag. Definitely, my thing and my mission is to see as many people as possible in TCOM swag. We got some great hoodies, shirts, mugs, and constantly putting stuff in the store. So make sure you stop on by thecolorofmotion.net/swag and pick you up something. If you do, my only request is that you snap a picture of yourself, send it on over to me so that we can share it on the show and share it on the social channels as well. So, again, make sure you hop on over there and pick you up something for sure. What else? Also, definitely make sure that you reach out to me. Definitely love hearing from all the viewers and fans. Any thoughts or anything like that? I definitely want to hear from you. You can check me out on all my social channels right here, and connect with me for sure. Again, I always love hearing from the viewers. Give me feedback on the show. And I am going to be putting out a poll because I am looking to change some things, do some different things. So I'm definitely going to be putting out a poll to, get some feedback from the viewers as well. What else? Man, oh man. Oh, like I said, we are here like I said, Saturday, 3 p.m. Central Time, live on the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, the Facebook group, and the website for the show. But I always encourage everybody always to kind of go over to the YouTube channel, get plugged in there as well, subscribe, get the bell notification, give a thumbs up. Definitely be a part of the community because, like I said, it definitely helps the algorithm. And there, you're always able to check out past great guests that we've had on the show as well. But get plugged in. Like I said, comment, give a thumbs up because that helps me with lets me know that I'm doing everything okay, and it definitely helps the algorithm as well. So I definitely want you to be a part of this family here. Let's Mr. No Parking One. Appreciate you tuning in there for sure. Happy Saturday to you. Right, Facebook user. Let me know your name because I am not monitoring the Facebook any of the pages really right now. I'm just checking out the comments as they come through the portal, and sometimes, especially with Facebook, for some reason they don't bring over their avatar. Don't know why. It's just a thing with Facebook for sure. So Facebook user, uh, throw in your name so I can say your name. Can you up my mic just a little, and let me know. Let me know that you can hear me and everything's coming in loud and clear because I definitely want to be heard for sure. Mr. DeMille, appreciate you there, brother. As always, tuning in and supporting the show for sure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, and happy Saturday to you too, my brother. Appreciate that as well. Again, if you are checking this out from Facebook, throw your name as well. Because, like I said, for some reason, Facebook just has an issue with bringing over avatars. And so it just comes over as a Facebook user. And I don't like saying that. I like saying your name. So definitely want to give you the props. I think that's pretty much all the little housekeeping stuff. Like I said, I'm so excited about this episode. You just don't know. She is my very first stop motion animator on the show, and I love stop motion animation. So I am so looking forward to sitting down and talking. And hopefully, you all will learn something as well for sure. So, without further ado, I think we can kind of get this party started in this train on the tracks. Yeah, baby. We are back. We are back and getting ready to get this show started. Mr. Ramsey, appreciate you tuning in for sure. Big shout out to you tuning in from LinkedIn as always. Miss Amanda, always love some Amanda. Thank you for showing up and tuning in for sure. Appreciate you always supporting the show. All right. Let's get this party started for sure. So, my next guest is an award winning director, producer, filmmaker, and stop motion animator from Lagos, Nigeria, who loves animated films. From The Lion King to Finding Nemo to Chicken Run, she's wanted to make films, especially animated ones. Her initial shots and sequences were 3D animated clips, and she soon started creating stop motion animation by animating children's toys. I did that kind of myself with my GI Joes. So, without further ado, everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Miss Esther Kemi Gbadamosi. Esther, how
Hey,
are
Brian.
you?
I'm
Gotta
good.
give you a
I'm
shout
good.
out
Thank
there.
you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be on the show.
Awesome, awesome. I am so like I said, I've been so looking forward to this ever since we connected because I am such a big fan of stop motion animation. And we were kind of talking before the episode. I don't know if I would have the wherewithal or the patience to do it, but I have a massive appreciation for those that do stop motion.
All right. Thank you.
So I have to start out. Like I said, you loved animation. You love The Lion King, Finding Nemo, Chicken Run, which is also a very well known stop animated film. What was it that kind of drew you though to stop motion animation? I mean, you love animation, but what is it about stop motion that you love?
Okay. Wow. I wouldn't say that I was drawn because I wouldn't say I also knew what it was. I did 3D animation, and that was it for me. And then I'd done a couple of 3D animated projects, and then I got married and had kids, and then it was very difficult to do 3D animation, because I didn't have enough time,
Yeah,
and so somewhere along the line, their toys became my mode of expression. I had the Spider Man, that was very articulate. So I did all the Spider Man poses and things like that. So after a while, I was like, oh, I had to capture it, because it was very sad, after taking time to get a pose right,
yeah,
and then you lose it. So I took pictures of it and figured out that there could be apps, to record that moment and all. And I found some stop motion apps, and that's where it really got to start. So it wasn't like I knew, I was aware. I loved Chicken Run. I loved the feel and all, but then there was not this consciousness, about stop motion. It was something that I could say found me. I wouldn't say that I found it in that
yeah,
sense, because as I did the sequences, the Spider-Man sequences, mannequins, all sorts of stuff, and so it was just, I just did sequences in the beginning, before it turned out to be short films and things like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it wasn't
Nice.
like I found it like that.
Yeah. And I, like I said, I think, I didn't shoot my toys as far as, the stop motion, but, I kind of played with my toys and just kind of brought them to life. I wish I had done stop motion. It would have, really loved it then. But, um, I've seen, I love watching, the behind the scenes of and those kind of time lapses that you see a lot of companies, especially stop motion companies that put out and, really sped up and you see the process involved in it. Um, is this something that you've kind of grown to appreciate more? I mean, you started in 3D, which is totally different than stop motion, but just the meticulous process that goes along with stop motion, is that something that you've come to appreciate even more as you do it more?
Yeah, naturally, yes. It's because stop motion is physical, so it's you interact. There's the physical interaction you have, When I did 3D, I modeled and read and skinned and did all of that, so I was part of that process, but as I entered into stop motion, I could touch, I could feel, and I think that for me has been the excitement, there. Yes, it has its the intricacies in terms of the detail and all that takes time, but it's fun just to physically create something, in a different scale, and just make it look, the way you feel physically. I think, yes, I think that's really what's unique for me, between the stop motion and 3D medium, where you have where you get to model digitally,
Yeah.
and or draw, if it were the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I the interaction, the fact that I can interact, the fact I can physically see, I think makes a huge difference. Yes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And everybody, let me know. I know a couple of you put in the chat there that my mic is a little low. Let me make sure that my audio is coming in just as great as Esther's is. So appreciate you letting me know. I turned up my mic a little there, so I should be coming in pretty good. But let me know in the comments if I'm not. How did your parents kind of react uh, as you were doing this? Well, I mean, you said you kind of started when you got married and had kids, but were you younger? It, did you have something different in mind that you wanted to do when you were younger, or was this something that you thought about when you were younger as well?
Okay. Well, what in school I studied engineering,
Okay.
and so it was a bit, nobody was expecting that I would go in the direction of filmmaking, and because it was when I as an engineering student, I think that was when I figured out that I wanted to make films, and I wanted to tell stories. And I was inspired by the engineering machines that we designed and
Okay.
all. And so yeah, we would model and fabricate the machines, and I felt that we a lot of people didn't know the stuff that we were doing, and I
Yeah.
felt we need to get out more. And so I wanted to document that process, and so that's essentially what got me to filmmaking. Ensuring that the engineering processes and all that. But eventually, when I got into filmmaking, it continued to unfold, and then I found other things that I enjoyed, different kind of stories that I preferred. To
Yeah.
what I originally started with. Yes. So how did my parents feel about it? I didn't think they liked it. I not for one bit. I
Wow.
it
Okay.
it looked, it was I remember a particular day at the airport, and they were asking what do I do, and I'm like, I'm a filmmaker. Like, no, no, you're an engineer. I'm like, no, I am a filmmaker. So it's at first I think the family found it kind of embarrassing that you know and that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it felt because for us here, it's dignifying to be a doctor or to be a lawyer
Yeah.
or to to be an accountant, that kind of thing. So when you say you want to be a filmmaker, if you don't do well at it, you probably not be considered to be doing well,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yes, so it
Well,
wasn't something. It
we
wasn't
kind of
something
get
we
it
expected
here
of
with
us.
some parents kind of get it here where they're not sure whether you can make a living, how you can make a living, so they're wanting you to find something that is a little more, you know
Profitable.
yeah, economically profitable, like a doctor, lawyer, whatever it is. But But I know it's different over there because at least over here, economically wise, we know the industry makes a lot of money. It's still growing and starting to grow over there. So I can see how a lot of parents over there really are a little more hesitant about their kids going into the arts or creative space, for sure. um, and as I see, you know as I'm watching kind of the behind the scenes, I see all the cameras and things like that. I know you started using like your phone. Has I mean, are you what type of equipment now are you kind of using? Because I know they've got little maquettes that kind of keep the models up and stuff like that. So, is that a challenge for you over there as far as just the equipment that you can get your hands on that'll allow you to really, you know, level up the
Okay.
quality of the stop motion that you're doing? Because
Okay.
I've talked with, like I said, which is what I find interesting when I do talk to my friends that I've connected with and made over there, is just the different issues and different struggles that we take for granted over here. Things as simple as power, or computers, and really high powered computers and equipment like that. Is that still a big challenge for you?
Okay. Wow. Okay. Maybe a couple of years ago, yes, it would have been like a challenge in that sense. At the moment, not particularly. I because I have sort of like uh, film. I've done films, documentaries, and live action films. I have a couple, and then I've done it for like 15 years. So you would expect that camera shouldn't be too much of a problem in that
Yeah.
sense. So I use a very good camera for stop motion. I use a Sony Alpha 7
Okay.
Mark II, so it's pretty high resolution. I 48 megapixels, so which is very decent for um, stop motion. So and then I obviously use Dragon Frame and
Yeah. Dragon
yep.
frame.
So that gets me, I record everything in RAW, and then so it gets me the quality is it's really really beautiful. Stop motion doesn't require the specs of the camera doesn't even need to be very high, because it uses the pictures, not the video. And most
Yeah.
cameras take relatively good have relatively good picture quality. So it's equipment wise, power obviously is always has always been a problem,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we barely have power.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most of the time you have to run on power. And so yes, I for probably power has also influenced the fact that I eventually resorted to stop motion in a sense, though I actually do enjoy it, but to an extent 3D animators feel it more.
More.
you
Yeah.
know yeah,
Yeah.
the power issue, because of they have to do renders and all,
Yeah.
which takes quite a bit of time of uninterrupted power,
Yeah.
which is something that we barely have here. So it's yeah, power could has really been an issue, just ensuring that we don't we you can't even depend on the power that comes from the grid,
Yeah.
because it stays for a very short while. So yes, that could be a challenge for any company that uses it. But in terms of equipment, on a personal note, not particularly.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, we could obviously do it more, but then
Yeah.
it's maybe the challenge would probably have been the fact that we had just moved into 3D printers, motion control cameras,
Yeah.
motion control systems, winder rigs and all, which tended to be much more expensive than anything else we've used. Yep. So
Gotcha.
that we transited in that direction in December. So yes, in terms of that, it was quite challenging to get. We had to get grants to get that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that yep,
And that's
that
another thing too. As that I've often talked to a lot of African creators that isn't quite as big a issue over here. Like I said, because the industry big is the fact of government subsidies and funding. Um, dealing with that over there. Is that something you see getting better? The government really kind of getting behind the industry and really starting to help the industry grow.
Okay. Well, for us here, in Nigeria specifically, we don't really have like government or public support as such. And no, we don't have. As to regards the fact that it will get better, to be honest, I don't know. It's and I'm not thinking about it,
Yeah,
because we really don't know what direction the government, what they have in mind regarding
yeah,
the arts. And so whatsoever their thoughts are, we are focused on ensuring that we continue to advance, the quality of our work, within the capacity that we have. And then, yeah, there are a few organizations here and there that are willing to, when you pitch, or you talk to them about what you have, or you apply, they're willing to release some funds
yeah,
and all that.
yeah,
Yeah. And also, of course, of major support has been the embassies, you know, uh, yes, embassies of other countries,
yeah.
um, yeah, to
Well, do
this
you
place.
feel like I mean, because at least on the 3D and 2D side, you're starting to see studios over here, such as Disney, Sony, really partnering with companies over there that will kind of help drive the industry, I guess, because like I said, it's starting to grow. You got Kugali coming out, um, you know, from the studio there, and so really starting to get it out in a wider audience. So do you feel as you create more of your own content, get into film festivals, start to win awards, that'll help to drive the industry up as well?
Yeah, definitely. That's it's exciting actually, to see what the partnerships, that's happening, globally. It's very encouraging, even for um budding, animators, people in the animation industry, because now they see that there is something afterwards. In say like 5 years, 10 years ago, it was like, there was really nothing
Yeah,
beyond maybe commercials and all that. But then there wasn't so much of a career, in the future that one would be looking forward to. So but now there's that people know that if you can do a great job, that yeah, the possibilities you can work with, like for in stop motion, you can work with Leica and
yeah,
Adman and all the guys that
yeah,
are doing really great stuff. So it's, yeah, it's huge for us. And for the fact that a whole lot of people in Nigeria, are having to make choices as to what they, between the conventional professions and the arts. It's them seeing this kind of advancement is giving a greater, is giving leverage, to the arts,
yeah,
especially for the young guys, young people coming up. So it's really very exciting, to be honest. It's one of the, it's really gingering the industry right now, just knowing that there are possibilities, and really good ones for that matter.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm excited about it as well. Again, everybody just jumping in. We're having a amazing conversation with my friend Esther here, stop motion animator. with Radioxity. Please make sure that you jump into the comments because we definitely want to hear from you as well. Um, are you starting? Well, let me back up a minute. As you're getting into doing stop motion, like you said, you've done some live action and 3D, but as you're getting into stop motion, are you have you found a big interest of other creators there that are interested, and other kids there that are interested in stop motion and really learning more about it?
Yeah, of course. It's the truth is it's obviously been two ways, actually, two from two sides of it. One has been the fact that people who genuinely, based on the attraction to the arts, have connected. So I've met quite a number of young people, um, people in even other aspects of animation that have shown interest in stop motion. But what even has taken it to another level is the fact that we've been able to y- people things that people never expected that we could achieve. you know um, they see us being able to do achieve those things, is for them, enough. It's encouraged people to say, oh, okay, I can do this, and so it's also generated interest, especially from the younger ones. Like, I want to do stop motion because I'm hoping that I can do the same thing as, she's doing, that kind of thing. And also, yes, from those sides, yeah, I see it's, really taking more shape with time, but then it's also tied to the to opportunities that still
Yeah,
continue to come
yeah.
across. Yes, and considering that even worldwide, stop motion isn't as popular as 3D or
Yeah, no, it isn't.
and 2D. Yeah, it was in fact, at a point, it was sort of like a fading medium, that sort of really, came back again, like that. And of course, with Guillermo del Toro's
Yeah, we talked a little
Oscar.
about that. Guillermo del Toro,
Yeah,
with
it's
Pinocchio.
it's
I
it's
think he really one. I'm happy because one, he's just a great storyteller, but he really had you could tell he really had a love for the medium of
yeah,
stop motion, and I think he did Pinocchio such justice in the way it was told. Like I said,
yeah,
before that, we were so used to the Disney, version of Pinocchio, which is
the
fine.
Pinocchio.
But it was interesting because it wasn't until I watched his take on it, and it was such a darker take than Disney's
Yeah,
for sure. That was actually how the story, the children's story, the actual book author wrote it as a really dark tale. So I love the fact that he just really went all in with the medium, and like you were saying, it's a very niche kind of medium. Even here
yeah, it
in the
is.
United States, it's a very niche. You have Lycra and you have some other ones. I don't know if you've seen Wendell and Wild as well.
I
Another
have seen
great
it.
one. Another
Yeah, it
great
was
one.
also dark.
Yeah. Another great one. So even though it's such a great medium, I think 3D and 2D and the mix of the two have really kind of overshadowed it a little as far as the power of how a well told movie. Of course, it always does come down to the story, but when you pair that with stop motion, and what you're doing is just like I said, you have such an appreciation for the creators that use that medium. Um, what are kind of the stories that you're hoping that, and we're gonna and everybody, in a little bit we're gonna take a look at Esther's and Radioxity's demo reel, but what are the kind of the stories that you're hoping to share with the world?
Oh, okay. Well, um, there's the beautiful thing. I'll start by saying that, the beautiful thing about stop motion, for Africa, is how organic it is. It's in Africa, many things, more are much more organic, here than any part of the world. It's not the kind of order you find in other parts of the world. You may not necessarily find them in Africa. It's being able to find order in the midst of chaos,
Yeah,
and stop motion embodies that, in a very interesting way, because stop motion isn't a perfect, it's not a perfect art. It's unlike when you were working in 3D and everything is clean, perfect, and all of that. You don't have that in stop motion. Stop motion, the beauty of it is the imperfections,
yeah,
the fact that, yeah. And so the African stories and stop motion, they cut, into each other right there. When I look at trying to when I look at our villages, for example, here in Nigeria, and I'm trying to put it together in 3D, for example. 3D is a very sort um, organized, straightforward
yeah,
means, so you really have to put in the effort at texturing to ensure you get the organics.
yeah,
Now, but for stop motion, just working with clay, and dust,
yeah,
and all of the elements, just making sure that they're miniature versions of the real thing. It's we can truly tell, African stories the African way. The feel, it comes natural with the feel. There's a story that we're currently working on in development, talking about, the history, of the guys that have ruled in Lagos. And we some of the thing about it is that in working on their costumes and all that, it's so easy to sort of like transcend from that large scale to the small scale, and still keep the integrity of,
yeah,
the costumes. And it doesn't look plastic in any way. It doesn't look like you're trying to force texture. No, this is the real thing. Just
um,
ensuring that it looks right. There's the way the creases are, on the fabric. We do exactly that, in stop motion. So it's I when I while I'm working, I'm like, stop motion is actually for us in Africa. It's just funny that it's just funny that it's almost it doesn't have so much recognition here in
yeah,
Africa, as a whole. It's just really trying to, nobody's we're not saying that stop motion should, we're not competing in any way with 3D or
yeah,
2D, no way. But then it's that art that, just like you have some meals you eat more often, and
yeah,
then this meal that you just eat once in a while. Stop motion is like that. It's the one thing that just different from, that which is the regular.
yeah,
And so it's yeah, what we really, hope to do is to be able to tell stories that would inspire younger generations, as well as being able to tell our stories the way it is, to a more to global audience, seeing what our culture looks like, the actual experience, not because of the colonial influence that we have.
yeah,
We tend to, obviously, right from language and all, it tends to sort of like mask all that we do.
yeah,
But then, in trying to look at the origins and seeing what exactly it truly is or truly was,
yeah, yeah,
and picturing that, in stop motion animation, for me, it would be a dream definitely
yeah.
come true.
And that's
Like,
what really excites me. Like I said, now that all these create African creators are coming up, they're telling your story, their story in their own way, without having somebody else give. Because, like I said, at least over here, and I'm pretty sure everywhere else, you tell your version and kind of your idea. It was funny. I think it was I can't remember. It was like early in season one. I was talking with um, one of the animators. I think they were in might have been South Africa, but they were saying, yeah, and I asked them, what they thought about the West and animation over here, and it's like, yeah, it's we have such a kind of idea what Africa is, and he was saying, no, it's not all lions, and the jungle, and that type of thing. That's not what Africa really is. There's a portion that's like that, obviously, but that's not the norm of what African life is like. And so I'm excited about just now creators get to tell their own story in their own way, just the everyday life of the things that goes on over in Africa. So I'm excited about all the stories coming out. And to your point, about the imperfection of kind of stop motion. I know Guillermo was saying that same thing, as far as he didn't want it to be polished. You could see like the imperfections in the models and things like that that really added to the story. So I'm definitely agreeing with you that it kind of goes with the organic nature of Africa and how things are as well. Um, for you, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but just the whole process of it. What's been kind of your biggest challenge, in the making of the work that you're doing?
Okay. Um, well, okay. Biggest challenge would naturally, of course, would be funding. But everybody says funding.
Yeah.
For me, it's not just even the funding. Um, it's been access to materials, to what we use. Um, in Nigeria, one of the challenges we have is that we're not heavy on manufacture.
Mm,
That we mostly consume, and so we, because we do not manufacture that much, we tend not to have so many of the raw materials that are used to manufacture things. And so it's so when we initially, like I said, I was using toys. I was using the children's toys, to tell stories. But I quickly recognized that at some point that the stop motion was going to be limited.
yeah.
As long as I continued to use toys, I needed to advance towards puppets. Um, I could things that help tell the story,
Yeah.
not necessarily something somebody else has created. And so we need to sort of fabricate our puppets from scratch, from aluminium. You can't, up till today, I'm still looking, I haven't found aluminium. In Nigeria, I still haven't found it. It took me a while to find silicone, not
Yeah.
I'm talking about the industrial grade one. It took me a while to find silicone, and so many of the materials, even to epoxy, resin,
Yeah.
all of this. Some
Resin.
of these things could be very, very. There's some tools that we use. I had to import virtually everything, and I remember when we started the process of manufacturing our puppets, say like 2 years ago. Um, when you ship an item, sometimes it takes 3 months to arrive. So it's just, that's even when you can afford it, and
Yeah.
then it takes a while to be able to get it. So already, to create our very first puppet, it took us more than 1 year
Wow.
just to create the very first one.
Wow.
Afterwards, it probably take us maybe a week or 2 weeks to create a puppet. But the very first one took us a year. and it was because materials were not unavailable. You had to go pro. Sometimes you order something, it comes, it doesn't. It's not exactly what you thought it was.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
have to,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's like you
so
hope it's
it's
right.
so you have to order again and things like that. So yes, I'd say that would was the biggest challenge.
Yeah,
Um,
manufacturing
yeah,
and
yeah,
because
yes,
it's and I think and I encourage I really do encourage people to watch because Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio's got a behind the scenes, and so you see all the sets, you see the little miniatures of, it's just fascinating how they had to build. And even with, the characters, they got to have different versions for the mouths and all of that. So it's a
yeah,
very time consuming process. And like you said, if you're ordering parts as opposed to you have a manufacturing studio that's building all of this stuff, it's going to take you an insanely long time to, like you said, get the parts or get the things that you need. Hope that they're the right things without having to ship them back, and then create that way. So that's why I say I'm always uh, keen about really highlighting just the challenges that you as an African creator have to go through that we just don't necessarily think about over here. Lycra's got their own warehouse where they build everything for all the films that they do, so they don't have to worry about things that, like I said, being shipped and it's not right type of thing. So big kudos and shout outs for you because I know it's a very time consuming process, and even more so, like you said, when you're having to work that much harder to get the materials that you need to make things right. Again, everybody just tuning in. We're having a fun conversation with Esther here, Radioxity. We're getting ready to take a look at their reel, and then jump back into it. But make sure you jump into the comments for sure. So let's take a quick look at some of the work of Radioxity.
Ah, Lepa.
What are you going to do after this?
I don't know yet. Go home.
Home. I wish I had that.
Make we be careful. They are here. I'll go up ahead. The rest of you, cover me.
Should have helped people. Damn, got things with my money instead of people using it
Yeah, some amazing work there. Like I said, such great work, and again, I love it because you think about something as simple as pouring water into a bowl, trying to wrap your head around. Okay, how am I gonna get this? Make this look like pouring water going into a bowl. It's like I said, it's a craft in and of itself, and then layer that on top of, like I said, something as, because you got to get emotions from your characters, and you got to make it look like, just like 3D. It's computer generated. It takes a lot of skill to make an inanimate object. People not see it as an inanimate object, but they're seeing it as a story and as a character, and they're not thinking, "Wow, this is stop motion or this is 3D." So it takes a lot of skill in and of itself. Um, are you seeing more women? Have you found that there's a lot more women and girls that are interested, kind of in what you're doing as well, or do you still see it as kind of a male dominated kind of space?
Well, at the moment, you still have more guys, but yes, there are ladies. The thing is, culturally, ladies tend to be more laid back, around here, particularly, the younger ones.
Yeah,
They, they, no, no, I'd say that it's changing, but it still requires them seeing that people ahead of them, are sort of like not limited by the glass ceiling,
yeah,
the cultural glass ceiling,
yeah,
like that. So yeah, yeah, ladies are no doubt, gaining the interest is not usually where the issue is, having people interested, fine. There are people that are interested. People that are willing to commit. It's a different thing entirely here. And most of the time, for you as a lady, particularly, guys that tend to be allowed to take risk. They tend to be able to do things that are not necessarily conventional. But for ladies, they always, everything seems to be carved out. So every time you want to do something like this, that means you're going to have to rebel against somebody. You know, you're going to do something that somebody doesn't want you to do.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
it's more like breaking free kind of situation. So yes, yeah, it's definitely getting better. But for me, I just feel that as long as we see people ahead to getting it done, it makes it easier for us, to go the same route.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Ramsey, thanks for sharing the specs and the software. And we're gonna make sure that we put some of the tools that are available to do stop motion. Like I said, there are some, if you're just doing it kind of for the fun, there are some uh, phone apps that do stop motion. But then there are some computer, more professional apps that allow you to do stop motion as well. So we're going to definitely make sure that I put those in the show notes as
Okay.
well. Um, for you, what are you kind of hoping people walk away from? What are you hoping people walk away with when they watch your animations and the things that you're doing? What are you hoping that most people kind of take away?
Okay, I hope that they'd see the possibilities. It's always beautiful when people watch our stories and like, and I have this story that I could tell, because they see how powerful a storytelling medium stop motion is. And of course, I want you know people, who watch, to see the possibilities of having a better version of themselves, because the environment we're in doesn't necessarily support um, the stop motion or even animation in
Yeah.
itself,
Yeah.
but then we have made possibilities, even in very impossible environments. So it's that narrative that it comes across to audiences here, that this is possible, and then for more international audience just to enjoy our stories. I think
Yeah.
that would be more than enough, for them to be able to enjoy our stories, and our stories become more global, and not like just African stories, but then it becomes part of our story as humankind,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So yes, yeah, just having another experience from another culture, just like in recent times, for Disney, I've enjoyed every bit of the Latino experience, with the films that I've watched, right from Coco to
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Getting better.
the,
Yeah.
so you have, it's you feel the culture, you
Yeah.
feel so much, about, and so it's the same thing, where you have more different cultures, Asian culture and then African culture and all of that,
Yeah.
in yeah. So that's the experience that I'd love people to have, that knowing that yes, this is also another beautiful part of this culture,
Yeah.
and then yeah, and get inspired in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think now you're starting to see that a lot more, even with the bigger studios. I'm always excited about independent creators and small creators because, they can tell their stories. But even with the bigger studios now, they're starting to take more of an effort to really, if they're gonna tell a story that's culturally different than what they've done before, they made sure to bring in the people, the writers, the directors, the animators that are of that culture that can really bring some authenticity to it. So I'm excited. That's why I'm really excited. Like I said, the partnerships that Disney and some of the other studios are doing with Triggerfish and all the other creators there in Africa, because it gives you your own voice to tell your stories
Story.
from your perspective in such a beautiful way that, like I said, is just not something that we would get had Disney done it themselves or tried to put it out themselves. So that's why, like I said, I love, like I said, the the stories that are starting to come out, the different characters, the different diversity that's really starting to come out and tell these beautiful stories that are out there. And we know Africa is just rich in stories and culture. So that's another reason. Like I said, you have so many stories to tell from every perspective, whether it's Afrofuturism, sci-fi, everyday life, and just being exposed. I think that's how we're all gonna grow, is if we expose ourselves to stories outside of what we normally watch and normally see. Um, for you, and I always like to ask this of all my guests that come on, what's been the best piece of advice that somebody's given you that's really helped you?
Okay. There has been quite a bit. Well, as a young person, I'd say the best advice I had, was that it was actually given by an very elderly uncle. He's passed now. He was like, he actually said it in, that's my language. That I'll do the direct translation, that it's whatever it is that a bird eats, that what a bird eats, it's what helps it to fly. you know.
Yeah.
So now the advice was that it's what you take in,
Mm.
it's how much you put in into yourself, that gives you ability to express, and so that advice has always been, if whatever it is you want to express, take in, if it's if when I stop motion was sort of, it looked very elaborate at first, the moment I embraced the medium, but I realized that all I needed to do was learn,
Mm.
even though we didn't have schools, but thank God for YouTube, and all of that,
Everybody,
so
you gotta
it's
love you too, boy.
and also it's just, it was, taking it in. So anytime I have a challenge in that direction, I all I know, I need to learn. Once I learn, I can express, and like that. So it's probably one of the most consequential advices that I've had, and it was way back a long time, and as early back as way, that's 2001,
Mm.
thereabouts, yeah. And
Oh,
but it's been very important to me, that it's what you take in that you give out,
yeah.
that kind of
Wow.
thing. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And you know how I like to do? I always like to drop bombs on great advice that my guests give. So definitely, what you take in is definitely what is going to come out and helps you to be more creative as well. Miss Veronica, appreciate you. Better late than never. That's, as long as you stop by. Happy to see Esther on the show. I have mad respect for stop. Like I said, I'm with you there, Veronica. I have mad respect for stop motion animators. It definitely love it. Again, everybody just tuning in. Like I said, we're having a great conversation, and I did tell Esther before the show that I'm being mindful of the time because of the massive time difference. It's super late there in Lagos, so I'm always thankful and always appreciative of, again, my African brothers and sisters, and that come on live because it is such a time difference. And we don't, I don't think about it sometimes, and I often forget that, like I said, it's really late there. So I want to thank Esther for really coming on and being a part of the show, and really sharing, her skills, her knowledge, her passion for storytelling. And one kind of last question before we go, and you kind of alluded to it just a minute ago, with the education and the schooling, because one, like I said, again, it's something that we take for granted over here because there's so many schools and places you can go. Um, the good thing about online is you can take, online 3D classes and animation classes. Haven't seen, I don't think I've seen any stop motion classes, but I'm pretty sure they're out there, for sure. And like you said, you picked up a lot of stuff from YouTube, which,
Yeah, I
you
did.
gotta love YouTube University. Who doesn't? For sure. But do you think that's another thing that is obviously needing to be worked on and changed with just getting more schools there? I mean, granted, yes, we do have online, but even over there, just in some areas, the internet, maybe a bit sketchy or this and that. So having more educational systems there, I noticed that a lot of African creators, if they do go for higher learning education, they either go to England or they go outside of the country mostly, whether it's Canada or whether it's coming over here to the United States to get schooling. Do you feel like that's another big portion that needs to be addressed as well?
It is, no doubt. It's we don't have there's, apart from, animators, mostly self-taught animators teaching other animators, we don't have like any official schools at this point, that teach animation. I'm not talking about stop motion now, I'm saying animation.
Just
You
animation,
know,
yeah.
so it's obviously it's because that's it's when you look at the food chain of animation, it's really, it doesn't exist at that level.
Yeah,
And so so even if you wanted something to be sustainable, there needs to be some educational, there needs to be people, educating. There needs to be serious schools, universities and all that, teaching animation. And so it's for it to be sustained,
yeah,
and for us to still be having this conversation in some 10, 20 years time.
yeah,
You understand, the schools need to come. They need to at least be set up in the each studios have their own classes and workshops and all, because obviously people have to work. You
yeah,
can't work on the projects alone. It's a team that produces an animated project. So, and so people, somehow I always have to have classes and workshops and all that to get people trained and
yeah,
things like that. But then it's not the same. I've, I haven't even gotten formal training in
yeah.
animation, so yeah, it, and also it would make a big difference.
Yeah,
It would. I have tried, doing some odd applications, and all that out. But then the point about it is that, if we have it here, it will make things a whole lot more easier.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. And I think as studios, whether it's 2D, whether it's 3D, whether it's stop motion, I think as they start to grow, and more people, get access or get knowledge of the industry, as more projects start to generate more money, I feel like it's it's going to eventually come. It's going to take a little bit, because like I said, it's, even though it's big over here, it took a little, took a while. I mean, studio,
It
like you
took a
said,
while.
Disney had their own kind of training schools, and they still do. But when they started, they trained their animators in animating, and now it's fortunately gotten a lot better. And like I said, with the advent of more online courses and the internet, it makes it a little more available, but still having, professional brick and mortar schools there that, have teachers, have courses and curriculums that are really teaching, on a really high level how to create a lot of this stuff is really going to make a big difference. So I am hopeful that more are going to be done. And hopefully, as African creators start to get big, they start to sew back into their country and their particular area. I'm always big about that. See it over here, whether they're from Jamaica and working at a big studio, they still always teach and go back and really train other young up and coming artists, from their area. So I'm excited about that, and I feel like more artists are going to do that as they start to get more experience in what they're doing, like you really teaching others the skill and the craft of stop motion and filmmaking in general. So again, everybody's just jumping in. Mr. J Brown, appreciate you tuning in. Like you told me in chat, yeah, I'm an international man. I have connections all over the world. So, like I said, Esther is my Nigerian friend and connection. So we go all over. Appreciate you tuning in, for sure, Jay. Again, make sure that I'm trying to be real mindful. We're going past the hour here, and like I said, it's late over in Lagos. But make sure that you connect with Esther. Check out her work. Check out Radioxity's work. They, like I said, doing some amazing stuff. And can't wait to see more of the content that they're putting out. You can follow her on Instagram. She's on Twitter. Check out their YouTube channel for sure. She's got a lot of great stories to tell. And so I know a lot of great stories are going to be coming out from her and Radioxity for sure. So we'll make sure that all of these will be in the show notes along with some of the tools that she uses that are available if you're interested in stop motion doing that. So uh, make sure you get connected over on the YouTube channel for sure. Um, Esther, like I said, I can't thank you enough for one connecting with me on LinkedIn, and really accepting my friend request. And two, I cannot thank you enough for being a part of the Color of Motion family. I cannot wait
Thank
to
you.
get you back on, and you are always welcome.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Don. It's for extending the hand. It's pretty amazing, and it just goes to show that it keeps getting better.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And definitely can't wait because Africa has always been on my bucket list to come out and visit. So definitely can't to wait to meet you in person and see what you're doing. So when I'm planning my trip out to Lagos, I definitely, you will be one of the people that I definitely connect with for sure. So cannot
Thank
wait.
you.
If you could hang out for just 1 second while I close out the show, I'd appreciate it. Just hang out in the green room while I close out the show so I can talk to you, for a minute afterwards. But everybody, please help me thank again my very special friend and guest, Kemi, Esther Kemi
Kim.
Gbadamosi. Thank
Yeah.
you, Esther. Hang out for just 1 second, please. Everybody, this is like I said, this is a fun one for me because, like I said, I love stop motion animation. And again, even though I didn't, you know, kind of photograph, I always kind of did that with my toys, and I kind of still do. I probably should do that with. I got a couple of GI Joe toys that I had when I was a kid. I probably should try some of that just to play around with it. But again, if you've ever watched like the behind the scenes and some of these stop time lapse videos from stop motion animators, you really will get an appreciation for the medium because it takes a craft. It really does, much more so than I think uh, 3D. 2D is kind of closely behind it because you're drawing individual frames. Computer, 3D is still a skill in and of itself, but the computer kind of does a lot of the heavy lifting. Um, but for stop motion, excuse me, for stop motion, it really is. It really is. So I would highly suggest you watch Guillermo del Toro's behind the scenes. It'll give you a very, very broad view of the work that goes involved with it. So again, this has been an amazing episode. I hope you had enjoyed this as much as I have. Like I said, I could have talked to Esther on and on and on, but again, I have to be mindful that it's a massive time difference over there. So I don't want to keep her on too long for sure. But can't thank her enough. Can't thank you enough for always tuning in and being a part of the show. Definitely. Like I said, we've been rolling along in this season here, and you definitely don't want to miss out on next week's episode. One, because it is our final episode before we take a short break again. So I definitely don't want you to miss out. But two, it's going to be an amazing guest coming on. Mr. Eric Brown, extended realities technologist. He does like HoloLens and virtual reality type of training and consulting. So definitely looking forward to sitting down and talking with him as well. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that for sure. Again, remember, next week is kind of going to be kind of the, like I said, last little episode before we go into another little short break for the show. Give me a chance to put some new things in, get some things together. So we will be running kind of replays of some of the older episodes. Maybe from season 1. I always like going back and checking out, like season 1 when I first started out. Definitely see the progression. So definitely make sure that you tune in next week because it's going to be a great one for sure. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Mr. Neil, as always, I appreciate you supporting the show. Mr. J, appreciate you as well. And Ms. Veronica, looking forward to having you on as well. So thank you for tuning in and supporting the Color of Motion and making it amazing show that it is. So with that, I hope all of you have a great rest of your weekend and a more productive week. And I will see you same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers, everybody.